Today we have the duty expert, or should I say Doctor on Call, Dr. Anton Chavakin.
Hello, happy to be here.
So what exactly is data leak prevention?
DLP is a set of technologies and processes that companies have to establish to protect against data breaches, data loss, data theft, and all other data abuses. Sometimes DLP is meant narrowly to apply to just a technology, but in many cases DLP is meant to use technology and the process to stop leaks, losses, and other abuses of data. So think of DLP as both a technology as well as a set of enterprise policies and procedures to protect against data loss.
What does it apply to and what does it mandate?
PCIDSS is actually payment card industry data security standard. This is a document and a set of regulations applied to companies that accept credit cards, payment cards, or deal with the payment card data. PCIDSS is one of the most influential security standards in use today.
How does DLP help with PCI and DSS?
Oh, that's a very good question, because PCIDSS guidance does not directly mention DLP, but DLP is a very core technology to PCI compliance at many organizations. What happens is there are many safeguards that must be deployed for PCIDSS. At the same time, the core purpose of PCIDSS is to protect the data from theft and loss. And given that DLP's mission is to protect data against theft and loss, DLP becomes critical for PCI environments in many companies.
How do organizations under PCI go about stopping card theft?
Well, organizations have to take very large set of steps to stop card data theft and card data loss. One of the steps might be segmenting networks, deploying network security controls, deploying encryption, deploying various security monitoring and log management technologies. A key part of this, as I mentioned, is deploying DLP to directly stop data loss and as well as attempts to steal the data.
Why should data need so much attention and security, especially in a company that needs payment card industry compliance?
Data is actually a very valuable thing nowadays, and payment card data is actually one of the most valuable types of data that attackers can steal. Think about this. You can steal a healthcare record, but it's not easy how to actually make money off it for many hackers, for many malicious hackers. If you steal a card number, it's very easy to monetize it. You can resell it, you can manufacture a new card, you can use it to make purchases online. Now, I'm oversimplifying the whole card theft thing, but it's pretty clear that the data, payment card data, is kind of similar to cash nowadays, because if you are in the possession of a cardholder account information, card number, the address, you can actually make purchases online and actually have goods delivered to your address.
I use my card all the time when buying things online, but I never have any problems with my information being used somewhere else.
Most of the card theft losses don't sit with consumers. They sit with banks, with merchants, and it's a bit complicated, but in many cases, somebody has to pay for those fraudulently purchased goods. So that's one of the reasons why organizations pay so much attention to PCI, because they don't want to pay for fraud losses. That are, according to some estimates, increase all the time.
So just because I trust a brand name company doesn't mean I have full security as a consumer, and that such a company may not have the right security measures in place?
That's exactly correct. You might shop with a large brand name company and they would accept your card, and you might never see a fraudulent charge, but it would not say anything about their security posture.
That sounds costly both to the consumer and the vendor who may be caught in such a scenario. What can a company look to lose in regards to capital? What are ways that a breached company loses money?
The biggest impact for many of the breaches was the notification cost. In many US states, I think in 44 states, there are laws that mandate that if you lose data, you have to notify everybody whose data was lost. Now, those notifications might run a few dollars per record, and in many breaches, millions of records were lost. So in that sense, in addition to brand damage, in addition to investigation costs, in addition to the cost of new security measures, you might actually be paying for notifying all the consumers, all the cardholders, all the other customers or employees or whoever's data was lost about the breach. So that's, for many cases, that's a big component of a cost. Now, I've seen some research that tried to compute losses that companies suffer after a data breach. And estimates vary from single dollars per record all the way to hundreds of dollars per each record. And given that some of the losses included millions, and in a couple of cases, tens of millions of records, these costs ran up very high. Now, On top of this, there were reports that some companies' stock has dropped as a result of a breach. Now, those reports aren't always conclusive, but the main idea is that if you're a large company and your stock drops even by 1%, that's a huge loss to shareholders that might lead to shareholder lawsuits.
Speaking of mergers and those sorts, how does this work out for trade secrets? Should I be worried if I'm a CEO who just emailed my company broker to go ahead with an investment strategy? What about my plans for acquisitions or mergers? I understand that employees would protect regulated information, but not my personal collateral. This creates anxiety.
Very much so. We talked about PCI, which covers a specific type of data, payment card data. In reality, most of the retailers, most of the banks, most of the restaurants, hotel chains, and other organizations under PCI have many other types of sensitive data that has to be protected as well. So that actually applies to DLP technologies to a large extent. You might choose a tool, a DLP tool, that only protects against card data loss. But then all these other losses, typically of unstructured but still valuable information, you'd be very much unguarded against them. So when we talk about PCI, we should not lose sight of the fact that this is only one type of data that companies have. And when you protect your networks and your environment using DLP tools, you should not just focus on one type of regulated data. Think about this. If you're a hospital and you're also a private company or public company, you have healthcare information, you have cardholder information, you have your own sensitive business process information, you have partner information, you have employee information. There are many, many types of data that sit within a company environment. Whether it's the upcoming mergers or cardholder data or health records, these are all different, but your DLP tools have to be able to address the issues with all the types of data. So it's very important to focus on DLP tools that can protect against structured and unstructured data of many different kinds.
How do DLP vendors market their product to those who need a solution? Can you tell me about the companies competing? Who has the best answers for the IT staff?
Well, the funny part is the best way to market a DLP solution is to approach a company that just suffered a big breach of data and demonstrate how that solution could have actually stopped the breach. Now, a few vendors are that lucky, but there are known cases where a DLP provider would approach a company that just suffered a big breach and show with 100% confidence that their technology would have stopped the breach from occurring if only it were deployed. And that to me is a bit hard to do in many cases because obviously you cannot engineer a breach yourself, but given how pervasive data breaches are, it is not uncommon that a DLP vendor would come to save the day by deploying the tool at the company and have the company actually be safe from future data breaches, or at least be safer. Because in most cases, a DLP tool would block data theft or data leakage through many channels, and these might have been the channels that company was breached through in the past. So in that sense, choosing the best DLP solution would involve picking a tool that can help you with regulatory challenges like PCI or HIPAA or any other compliance framework that usually talks about a particular type of data like payment cards or health records. But also choose a DLP tool that would help you with your own business secrets. So you cannot just choose a tool to block card theft because guess what? You have many other types of info that needs to be protected. So the best DLP tools help you with all those issues and are easy to deploy from start to finish and can help you with data issues, data security issues across many different types of data. Regulated, sensitive data, data that people want to steal, data that gets lost very often, and many other types of information that you have. Information today is essentially the lifeblood of your business, and your DLP tool should be able to keep this blood inside as opposed to let it leak out. The best tool would cover both structured and unstructured data, both regulated and sensitive data. I'm familiar with the tool from nexTier Networks, and this tool actually allows you to support any type of data across many channels. As a result, you're protected in regards to regulated payment card data as well as your own sensitive data. So on top of this, nexTier can also help you create a semantic record of all of your data, however sensitive it might be, and then track the same data across many channels.
Data must love you.
Well, data is valuable, and I guess this love is mutual.
So where is your data? Is it safe and in compliance? That's all we have time for today. Thank you.